All right, let's dive into one of the most radical and honestly mind-blowing promises in the entire Bible. It comes from the book of Revelation, and it offers us not just some hope for the future, but a literal share in a divine throne. Now, I know that sounds almost too bold to be real, so let's get into it and unpack what this really means.
So here it is, Revelation 3:21. And this is coming straight from Jesus himself, a promise that just echoes through the centuries. He's talking about sharing his actual throne. But what does that even mean? It sounds almost too big to be true, right?
And that's the big question, isn't it? How do we take this ancient, almost mythic-sounding promise and make it real in our lives? Is this some far-off prize we get at the end of the line, or is it a reality we can actually tap into right now?
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to break it down. And we're going to start with the very first part of the deal. To him that overcometh. The original Greek word for overcometh is nikao, which means victory or conquest. But here's the kicker. The way we're supposed to achieve this victory, it's completely backward from how we usually think.
Yeah, this definition just turns everything we think about overcoming completely on its head. It's not about gritting your teeth, mustering more willpower, or fighting harder. Nope. Nikao is about conquering through surrender. It's about letting go of our own striving and just resting in the victory that Christ has already won for us. This is a win achieved by faith, not by force.
Okay, so that's how we overcome. But what about the reward? What do we get? The promise is to sit with me. The Greek word for that is kathizo. And you guessed it, the meaning here goes so much deeper than just the physical act of sitting in a chair.
We're not talking about a literal piece of furniture here. Katizo is all about a deep spiritual union. It's about sharing in Jesus' authority and entering a state of complete rest. And get this idea is actually backed up in Ephesians 2:6, which says believers are already seated with Christ in the heavenly realms. So this isn't just something to hope for one day, it's a present reality we can step into.
And all of this leads us right to the main event, the central symbol of the whole promise, the throne itself. The Greek word is thronos, and understanding what this word represents is absolutely crucial, not just for this one verse, but for pretty much the whole book of Revelation.
So what does the throne symbolize? Well, think of it as the mission accomplished banner. It's the place of ultimate authority, absolute victory, and this perfect, unshakable rest. So when Jesus promises us a share in his throne, he's promising a share in the absolute finality of his triumph over sin, death, and everything else. It's the end game.
But you might be thinking, how on earth could anyone possibly get there? And what's so incredible is that we aren't left guessing. Jesus lays out the blueprint for us right there in the verse. He says we can sit with him on his throne even as he also overcame. He's modeling the way for us. He shows us exactly how it's done.
You can see this path laid out perfectly for us in Philippians chapter 2. It shows Jesus' own journey to the throne. It began with humility and obedience, it led through suffering and death, and it all culminated in his resurrection and exaltation. That is the pattern we're invited to follow. Our path to reigning with him follows that exact same sequence, dying to our old self so we can be raised into new life.
And hey, this isn't just some one-off idea stuck in Revelation. No way. This is a theme you see all over the place. Daniel prophesied that dominion would be given to the faithful. Jesus promised his disciples they would sit on thrones. And Paul wrote in 2 Timothy that if we suffer with him, we will also reign with him. See? This promise is literally woven into the fabric of the whole story. So what this all boils down to is a choice, really. There are two very different paths to victory. You've got the world's way, right? All about human effort, hustle, relying on yourself, which usually just leads to pride and constant exhausting striving. But then you have this other path, the path described here, faithful surrender. It's all about trusting in Christ's finished work, which leads to humble obedience and ultimately to a place of rest.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways? First, true overcoming isn't about striving harder, it's about surrendering more deeply. Second, sharing Jesus' throne isn't just a future reward, it's a spiritual authority available to us right now. Third, our path to get there is the same one he walked, dying to self. This whole promise is for today and for eternity, and it shows us that the ultimate victory isn't about gaining more control, it's about letting go.
You could really boil this whole incredible invitation down to 3 simple, powerful commands. Die in me,
to all your old ways of striving, live in me fully and completely, and from that place, reign with me in true spiritual authority and rest.
And that leaves us with one last very personal question. If this entire promise of sharing a throne, this reality of true authority and rest, is activated by surrender, then the question for you, for me, for all of us is this: what is it in your life that you need to let go of today to step into that reality?